The voice came back through the speaker, distant, barely a whisper. Janelle perched on her Flagstaff dining table, her phone grasped in her tight grasp. Millions had already heard the podcast interview, but for Janelle, every sentence was a new hurt. Garrison had always been a difficult child. He no longer upheld the family's values. Despite all my attempts to reconnect with him, he ultimately chose to divide us. That was his decision. His fault. Even after the recording stopped, the words hung in the air. Janelle blinked, fighting for air. Her son, Garrison, was buried far too early, and the man who raised him had just written off his pain as an afterthought, eclipsed by Cody's own ego. That wasn't cruel. It was inexcusable. She stood up slowly, her frame weighed down by grief. Framing the walls of the room were photographs of Garrison, in his National Guard uniform, grinning in a picture taken with Gabriel when they were both teenagers, cradling baby Savannah. He had been a good son. Tormented, in pain, yes, but adored, deeply loved. And now he was being mocked online by the very person who should have defended him. The internet didn't hesitate to react. Outrage went viral. Hashtags such as #JusticeForGar and #CancelCodyBrown trended. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Don't forget to like this video. Boycott TLC. The blowback was swift. As Cody's latest confessional clips fingered his kids for the breakdown of the family, fans dug up older scenes of Garrison going out of his way to get his dad's approval. Reddit lit up with analysis. On TikTok, users used Cody as an example to break down narcissistic parenting. But it wasn't just strangers who were reacting. Christine, from her home in Utah, texted Janelle with shaking hands. "I don't know how you're doing this. I'm so sick of it. Let me come up there." Mary, at the retreat center she ran after her divorce, had her hand shaking over her lips as Cody's voice played. In spite of all that had happened, her mother instinct burned bright. Loyalty was no longer important. To them all, Garrison was a child. He was owed mercy. Robyn, always quiet in tempests, was unraveling. At home in Flagstaff, she was spiraling downward. Days had gone by since she last ate. The blinds remained closed. Aurora and Brianna sat and watched their mother cry for hours, balled up on the couch. "I told him not to say it," she whispered repeatedly, her mascara smudged, her face buried in the cushions. I told him. Robyn had begged Cody to remain silent, to mourn in private, to not fan the flames. But Cody seethed at loss, seethed at being shut out, seethed that his sons had shut him out emotionally years ago, before ever denying him burial beside his sons. And now his rage spilled into the open, under the guise of honor. And now, Robyn paid the price. The shame burned her like acid. Suddenly, she wasn't the faithful wife anymore. She was the enabler, the backroom schemer. On gossip forums and websites, her past tearful breakdowns were re-watched and re-examined. Was she faking it? Or had it always been genuine? Her mourning couldn't conceal the embarrassment. Cody had assured her that he was the only one who genuinely loved his family, and she had taken him at his word. But now, she wasn't even certain that he knew what love was. In the meantime, the media firestorm continued to build. Janelle, at her wit's end, phoned the executives at TLC. "If you keep airing this and don't deal with it," she stated firmly, "you're actively participating in publicly shaming my deceased son." Her tone didn't crack. She had nothing left to lose. In secret, Mary and Christine discreetly reached out to Maddie, Gwen, Gabe, and Pawn. The older kids, who had once been broken, started to mend each other slowly, not only for Garrison's benefit, but for themselves. It was Gabe who said it in their family chat first. "He's not our dad anymore. He lost that right. But we can still look out for one another. We have to. That's what Garrison would have wanted." As the family was facing uncomfortable truths, Cody did what he always did when cornered, reinvented himself. He registered at a men's leadership retreat in Sedona, Arizona, a private weekend conference for so-called visionary alphas recovering their purpose. There, in a low-light room, thick with incense and bespoke blazers, he encountered Vanessa Kendall. She was 41, brittle, magnetic, a former life coach who had become the next big thing in the masculine energy healing culture. Although Cody greeted her with informality, Vanessa already had the full measure of him. She didn't much care about the scandals, or pretended otherwise. "You're a man who's lived daringly," she said, tilting her head a little to the side. "That doesn't happen very often. Most men play it cautious. You didn't." Those words hit Cody like a dose of morphine. He joined Vanessa into dinner with couples, workshops on metaphysics, and winter gatherings around firelight deep in the desert night. No one was yelling at him, shoving him off, or calling him out for the first time in months. Vanessa had never met Garrison. She had no idea about Janelle or Christine. She knew only the man Cody was building now, the battle-scarred man reclaiming his throne. A few days later, the two were spotted smiling, walking hand in hand through Scottsdale. TMZ jumped on the story. Kody Brown moves on after family split, finds new love. But the internet didn't react kindly. Disgust filled the comments. "Your son just died and you're honeymooning with a spiritual influencer? Revolting. Absolutely shameful." Everything was gone now. Cody acted like this was a choice, but in many ways it wasn't. Back in Flagstaff, Robyn sat wordlessly staring at the pictures of Cody and Vanessa. She was hollower than ever. She screamed not once. She cried not once. She stared. Empty eyes. Cody hadn't even warned her. They could have been mourning together. Instead, he had left and taken the terror of Garrison's death as an excuse for another transformation. Then came the final slap in the face. TLC aired a 1-hour special, "The Brown Children Speak," a tribute to Garrison. On a quiet stage, Maddie, Gabe, Gwendlin, and Pawn were in a line, telling their truths. Their father not being there, Garrison's suffering, and the trauma they'd all experienced. Gabe, his eyes puffy from tears, whispered, "He just wanted to be seen. But Dad didn't have space for us anymore. He was living a story we didn't fit into." At that moment, they reclaimed the story. The children revealed the Garrison Project, a non-profit dedicated to men's mental health and preventing suicide. People gave generously. Public opinion was forever changed. Cody was no longer the Brown family face. He was now the cautionary figure. Robyn remained in seclusion. Mary stepped back quietly from the franchise, focusing on her growing business. Janelle, changed by it all, began speaking out about the brutal realities of parental alienation. Christine, remarried blissfully, stood by the children with unwavering, unflinching fidelity. And Cody? He clung to Vanessa's mystical dicta, to a vague future strewn with energy healing and rebirth, one that no longer involved the family he once ruled. Behind his eyes lay a sorrow he'd never speak, a desolation too grand to articulate. And yet, he spoke of peace, of renewal, of starting over, because Garrison was dead. And with him went the final chance to make things right. But the saga continued. Gwendlin Brown, Cody's daughter by Sister Wives, has become increasingly estranged from him, and reconciliation seems unlikely. When Cody married his first wife, Mary Brown, he was still in his 20s. He had a sense of his life's calling, and that was to have lots of children and build his family. Not a year later, 1993, he married his second wife, Janelle, and soon after that, his third, Christine. With his first 3 wives, Cody had 13 children, 6 with Janelle, 6 with Christine, and 1 with Mary. He did his best at being a good father early on. But once he married his 4th wife, Robyn, everything changed. His attention shifted. He began ignoring his former wives and children, spending more time with Robyn and her children. A number of Kody's sons, Garrison and Gabe in particular, felt deeply betrayed. His daughters, like Madison, Isabel, and Gwendlin, also felt mounting alienation. Some of them, like Gwen, took to social media to express their pain, air family issues, and disclose long-held secrets. Gwendlin has been particularly candid. She complained about how her father had failed her and the older siblings. She explained to us why their bond had been lost. In an earlier interview, Gwendlin said Cody simply didn't care, not for her or the remainder of the older kids. On an episode of Sister Wives, she opened up about her heartache. She told us that Cody only appeared to care about being a father to the younger ones, primarily his 5 children with Robyn. She sat with her mom Christine and brothers Gabe and Garrison, talking about their father's departure, his decisions, and the profound wounds he caused. "Oh my God, to have a dad who loves you!" Gwendlin sneered with venomous sarcasm, clearly alluding to her jealousy of the little children still receiving attention from Cody. The way she had put it made it clear she really believed Cody did not love her or the older children. And he has not done a great deal to dispel that belief, which has further entrenched the divide. Gwendlin shared enigmatic posts on social media to express her inner turmoil in 2023. On YouTube, she condensed Sister Wives episodes and informed the fans she and her dad never bonded. Gwen indicated that Robyn showered Cody with affection, more affection than he ever provided for his own kids. "I never remember walking home from kindergarten and my dad being in a good mood. I had eaten my lunch or made a new friend," she said. It was always her mother who was watching, who paid attention, who cared. She noticed that Cody never really ever showed up for her, not emotionally, not in the ways that mattered. Gwen recalled, too, how her dad never defended her, contrasting sorrowfully with what he was like with Robyn's children. "I don't want to make it all about me, but it is tough seeing him be a good dad to other kids when I didn't receive that," she admitted. However, in spite of everything, she said she was genuinely happy that her younger siblings were getting the affection she was not. Gwendlin has not spared a word when bashing Cody on social media. Her reactions to Sister Wives episodes have been brutal and slashing, leaving one thing very clear: she does not respect him at all anymore. On her Patreon page, Gwen went as far as labeling her father as a coward. She claimed he was often being spineless when it came to dealing with the family, most notably when dealing with conflicts between his wives and children. She wasn't afraid to call out his past behavior either, and in a more fiery moment, she presented a theory regarding why he's been so distant. She believes Cody is an angry misogynist. Gwen speculated that he was bitter at the women in the family. It was a risky assertion, but given what she's personally been through, it's easy to see why she might have that opinion. Whether she finds Cody sexist for always making himself the priority with his wives, or a narcissistic egomaniac, Gwen has taken the pain he's caused. Cody began reconnecting with some of the older children after Garrison passed away. He even might reach out to Gwen one day, too. But Gwen is independent, strong-willed, and very principled. Even if she were to speak with her father again, forgiveness may not be an option. And even if she did grant him a second chance, the relationship wouldn't last. Her independence would continue to clash with Cody's controlling ways, bringing up old wounds and more drama. Until now, Cody's efforts at reconciliation have been largely instigated by Robyn. He said it himself: "I won't chase kids who don't want to talk with me." He explained how one of his children once replied to his text message with, "You're trash. I never want to hear from you again." Repairing things with Gwen might be nigh impossible, especially if she continues to deny any affiliation with the Sister Wives world. Robyn and Cody once lived in luxury in their $1 million home, having a lovely bathroom that spoke to their lifestyle. Robyn arrived in 2010, when Cody had already married Mary, Janelle, and Christine. He fell in love at first sight and promised to build a family. In 2014, he divorced his lawfully wedded wife, Mary, so that he could lawfully marry Robyn and adopt her children. The two then had 2 biological children, Solomon in 2011 and Ariella in 2016. Although they started out as polygamists, Cody and Robyn's relationship eventually became monogamous in practice. The intimacy they shared created a rift between him and the other wives. Feeling more and more sidelined, Mary, Janelle, and Christine finally left Cody between 2021 and 2023. They went on with their lives, their aspirations, and their peace of mind. What remained was a monogamous wedding of Cody and Robyn. A few members of the Brown family openly condemned the couple for living and spending lavishly. Even Gwen, in one scathing remark, said about them, addressing them as shopaholics. A fan of Sister Wives named Mindful Under Snugget, Buzz, recently posted photos from Cody and Robyn's former residence, and the images quickly brought up older scandals. Among the photographs in question was one of their lavish bathroom. The sink sported a Flintstone-esque basin, adorned with crystals and fancy trim, clearly custom and likely expensive. They snapped a photo of another entrance, walls covered in seashell print artwork. And then there was the master bedroom. A huge king bed, plush pink carpeting, matching pink pieces of art, and a couple of pricey-looking paintings. It wasn't just high-end, it was decadent. The room also featured statues, flowers for decoration, a quality couch, and paintings scattered everywhere around. But there was a little quirkiness in the decor, too. A bust that just didn't fit in, a horses kissing painting, and a bow and arrow hanging on the wall that was extremely old. On Reddit, users zeroed in on the bathroom's crystal collection. They questioned why so much money had been spent on mismatched decor, and whether Cody and Robyn genuinely believed in the crystal's supposed energies or were simply making expensive aesthetic choices. "I'm telling you that sut ain't cheap," one Redditor said, estimating the amethyst pieces alone could cost over $200 each. While there were some who were in awe of the extravagant setup, there were also those who were critical. Many caught themselves saying that money doesn't necessarily buy taste. Cody and Robyn have had to endure accusations of financial irresponsibility from fans as well as from their own family members for decades. Whether it's Robyn's affection for American Girl dolls or the duo's affection for diamonds, accusations of overspending followed them like a cloud. Cody always remained committed to his love of Robyn, his last wife during the wreckage of Sister Wives. But more recently, something shifted. In an unexpected moment from a more recent season, fans saw something they hadn't observed in years. Cody reconnecting with estranged children, and doing so without Robyn calling the shots. It was real. It was raw. And perhaps most amazingly of all, it was authentic. For the first time in years, the audience watched as Cody sat down to have a real conversation with his daughter, Aspen. No acting, no ego, no Robyn, filtering every word that came out of his mouth. And that's what made it hurt so much. In a recap of a Valentine's Day episode, Cody dropped more than he likely intended. All of a sudden, the true question was whether he could mend bridges. It was whether Robyn had been quietly dismantling them the entire time. He mentioned that in his 8-hour drive to Utah to visit Aspen, he also crossed paths with some of his other kids unexpectedly. But what happened on that visit really stood out. Cody described an open, honest conversation with Aspen. He mentioned telling her he loved her. He confessed hurting her. He admitted not being there. It felt as if fans were finally meeting a side of Cody they had not seen in years. Human, vulnerable, and unfiltered. But Robyn's reaction to the story raised an eyebrow. Rather than preserving the moment or appreciating its value, she reportedly characterized the conversation as a confrontation. Reddit was on fire with outrage over Robyn, fans accusing her of undermining every attempt Cody makes to mend his older kids. They've seen it all before. When the original family is healing, Robyn jumps in or tries to turn it around and make it negative. Whether or not she is doing it consciously or insecurely is still open to debate. What is for sure, however, is the trend. Robyn entered the family in 2010, and Cody had been with Mary, Janelle, and Christine for 20 years. He later legally divorced Mary to marry Robyn and adopt her children, setting into motion a sequence of events that eventually ended up demolishing the rest of the family. Then Robyn not only altered Cody's perception of his wives, but his treatment of his children as well. Recall how she insisted family gatherings were unsafe during the pandemic, while her nanny and the nanny's husband came and went freely? She isolated others while Cody was forced to exist in the cocoon she created for him. She kept inflating his ego at all times, coddling him in ways his other wives did not. He even bragged about her former modeling career on television. To make matters worse, Robyn consistently set up the older children as unfaithful or distant, when in fact, several of them were simply reacting to being replaced. Unfortunately, by the time most of the Brown children had matured, the harm had already been done. Whether she is doing so on purpose or not, it's clear that Robyn has helped alienate Cody from the people who were the most significant to him. Perhaps worst of all is the way her so-called sympathy for Cody's older children seems to be performative. Since Robyn's natural inclination is to manipulate situations, it's hard to think that she really desires the fractured relationships fixed. And as the latest episodes show, this was something that did not fade away. It just transformed. Cody's recent trip to Utah didn't fix everything, but it did expose something important. When Robyn isn't around, Cody is far more open and emotionally available. His heartfelt conversation with Aspen was the most authentic we've seen from him in years. But Robyn's reaction made one thing crystal clear. She saw it as a threat. Now, the question isn't whether Cody can mend relationships with his children. It's what has been holding him back until now. And all signs still point to Robyn. Season 19 of Sister Wives returned from its mid-season break on April 20th. Subsequently, on May 4th, the series addressed the tragic news of Garrison Brown, Cody, and Janelle's son, who took his own life on March 5, 2024, at the age of just 25. The show, Blessed Are Those Who Mourn, captured the family as they grappled with unimaginable grief. Janelle and Cody decided emotionally to bury Garrison in Wyoming, a place that is extremely significant to the Brown family. In a confession, Janelle explained, "Cody actually grew up in Wyoming. My mother was married to Cody's dad. The Browns have deep roots there. Both Cody's dad and my mom are buried there. I wanted Garrison to be next to her." She indicated that Garrison spent summers working on the family ranch, and that this experience shaped him. Maddie, Janelle's daughter, also indicated how Wyoming appeared to be the most meaningful location for her brother's resting place. In his own words, Cody described that although he had tension with Janelle, they were together in making this decision. "I can remember sitting there with Janelle and just saying, 'I just want to take my boy home.' So I said, 'Let's go back to Wyoming and bury him next to Grandma Cheryl.' And we both just knew that was the right thing." Janelle also indicated that she would want to be buried next to Garrison when her time came. Their chosen cemetery was small, serene, and forever Wyoming. As the family organized to go to the funeral, the episode explored how all of Cody's previous and current wives were handling the tragedy. Robyn, Christine, Mary, and Janelle were all featured. Despite the deep rifts that remain between so many of the family members, Mary had a searing observation. Everyone was there except one. And it took him dying to reunite everyone. That's just heartbreaking. But also, that's just so Garrison, she cried. For a single brief moment, grief was able to do what all the therapy, talk, and reality television had been unable to do over the years: bring the Brown family together under the same sky. Janelle reflected on that intimacy, and she said, "That was always our desire, our children to be like siblings. Some plural families keep the children in totally separate homes. They barely even know each other sometimes. We did everything we could to make it not happen. And I think we did succeed." At the tail end of the episode, viewers were able to see Cody, Robyn, and their children, Dayton, Aurora, Brianna, Solomon, and Ariella, stay in Cody, Wyoming, near Lovell, where Garrison is buried and where Cody himself had grown up. In a confession booth, Cody quietly talked about what was ahead. He told me about how he, Robyn, and their kids were recovering, and what healing after such a horrific loss could be like. "We're processing our grief because you do need that time to grieve," Cody said in one of the more upbeat moments in an otherwise downbeat episode, still dominated by the death of Garrison. "We're doing mourning things to recall and honor those we've lost, to actually feel the pain," he went on. "But we're also doing happy things. We're doing them so that we can move forward, so we can have faith again in what's to come and in our own lives." As part of that healing process, Cody gave his family a brief tour of Cody, Wyoming's downtown area, where he pointed out a number of the shop signs that he himself had created. They had ice cream, went to a local show, and even rode in a horse-drawn carriage. Later, when they had dinner at a neighborhood restaurant, Cody told his family the story of how he'd gotten his name. He'd been named, he explained, after Buffalo Bill, William Frederick Cody, who'd worked as a scout for the U.S. Army and then as a performer, traveling with the Wild West show that starred Sitting Bull. "Essentially, he was a showman," Cody said. "An entertainer. I suppose I try to be entertaining too." When Robyn asked if Cody saw himself in Buffalo Bill, Cody laughed. "I'm sure he was charming, humorous, affable, and maybe a ladies' man. I'm guessing. I don't think I'm a ladies' man at all." He added in a confessional, smiling, "I had 4 wives, that's it. That doesn't qualify me as a ladies' man." Robyn didn't see eye to eye, saying, "Most people would definitely call that a ladies' man, but okay, whatever." In the final emotional montage, Janelle was seen with her youngest daughter, Savannah, as they took a visit to Flagstaff, Arizona, to honor Garrison's memory in a way that would have made him proud. Where were they headed? The High Country Humane Society. Janelle, another cat lover, told of Garrison's affection for animals, cats especially. After his passing, some of his nurse friends suggested that donations in his name be made to local shelters. From there, it took off. Janelle explained that one thought turned into a movement. Animal shelters throughout the Flagstaff area received record support in Garrison's name. During their visit, Janelle and Savannah were also shown a memorial plaque in honor of Garrison, in a room where people could go to spend time with cats who were up for adoption. They were also told that over 30 cats had been adopted, and over $25,000 had been donated in the days following Garrison's death. It was a bittersweet reminder that even in death, Garrison's spirit was still making a difference.